Realize, and I keep saying this, and I don't know if people understand this right here, and that is God, comma, is God. And you could say God is comma. You understand? That's and most people don't get that. Because why? Because in the teachings it says that comma is action, right? How do you have action? What creates action? What creates any action? In order for any action to take place, what has to happen?
A reaction.
No, because you can have an action and then a reaction. But in order for the action to be made, what do you need in order for the action to be made? Huh? Well, will, but what is all of that? In other words, you need power. Where does all power come from? No, it comes from God. See? It comes from God. Power originates from God. Right? So no action takes place without the power of God. Now, how do we recognize the power of God? Like you said, the power of God demonstrates itself as will, because it's the will that drives the power that places things in action. See? So all action, and the word comma actually means action. Now, that action cannot take place without what? Without a framework of laws, right? It needs a certain laws to govern the actions, right? So this framework of laws governs all actions, right? So comma, therefore, that's why people reference comma as the law of God, because God is comma, and comma is God. So when I leave you to your means, I'm leaving you to God. You know, that's what they meant. God's going to take care of you, because all your actions are done within a framework of the law of karma. And the law of karma only exists because God released the power from where? From the endless potential of the absolute, from this static endless potential. So therefore, everything works within that framework of God. You know, so that's why the first thing when I was talking about forgiveness, you forgive a person because why? Because you know that there's a greater law, and if that person was driven to do whatever they did, it's because that's the lesson that they had made for themselves, and that's the lesson that God had designed for them. Okay, because why? Because all actions are within the law, and it doesn't matter where you turn, where you move, what direction you go to, you're going to end up what? In the long run, in the hands of God. So that's how you got to think as a mystic. You know, you're going to end up in the hands of God. And so that's why the law is God and God is the law. You know, so when you talk about karma and when you try to separate karma from anything else, it's almost ridiculous to do. You cannot separate karma from anything else, because everything in manifestation is in what? It's in motion. And motion is what? It's actions. Everything's in motion. Everything in manifestation is in motion, and motion is action. And action is karma, and karma is God. And in order for it to be in motion, it must be under the influence of the law of God, because nothing operates outside of the law of God. Nothing operates outside of the law of God, because why? everything must use what? The power of God in order to go into action. Power is action. So every action you make is an action within the law. You cannot make that action without the will and power of God. You cannot. Satan can't make an action without the will and power of God. So even Satan has to come under the law of God. That's why when last week when we got into it and I put -4 times -4, it must produce. It must produce a positive, right? It must produce a positive 16, right? Because why? Because everything falls in the law of God. So if you multiply negative actions, at one point, you have to become positive. Because why? Because everything works within the law of God, within the framework of God. Everything. So you cannot continue to do negative things. Cannot. It has to be balanced with a positive. See? So this is what most people don't get. They don't get this. And it's a simple equation. Yeah.
So then, as a mistake, somebody harms us, we forgive them, get them to God.
Mm-hmm.
Going forward, how then do we interact with that individual? Do we act like, okay, bygones, we forgot it?
No.
Even that person tries to hurt us again, we still...
No, because you have to guard yourself against. The same way you guard yourself against the cold and the heat, you guard yourself against people that's negative to you. So you cannot you cannot go out into the weather unprepared. So you can't go around other people unprepared. If someone have a nasty cold or virus and it's contagious, you don't go around them unprotected and without the knowledge to protect yourself. No, you protect yourself. That's the law. You have to, because the law is to survive. So it's not. You don't go and throw up a cross every time you come to them. You don't have to do that. But you do the necessary things to protect yourself. You know your limits that you can go with that person. That's all. You know that you know your limits of what you can drink and eat. You know you can't pour a cup of poison, 8 ounces of poison and drink it. That's your limit. You can't do that. So it's that way with everyone. There's a law that governs things. Now, the Orthodox people, they'll tell you belief plus actions equals results, right? Now, that's right on a certain level, but is misleading in a sense, because it really should be understanding of the law or belief in the law, the knowledge of the law, right? Brings you to make the right actions. It actually carves your actions in order to do what? Bring about the predetermined results you need. See, it's the same. We go back to the 9 freedoms. The 9 freedoms tell us what? To predetermine every action. And how do you predetermine every action? By understanding the law of God. You understand the law of God, which is the law of karma, right? To the best of your ability, and you carve your actions towards that law. And then you can predetermine your results. So in all the methods of manipulating prana, right? This is the formula that we must use. We must understand the law, right? The laws of God, which is what? What is the laws of God? karma, right? Right? And with that we do what? We carve. That's carve?
Yeah. C-A-R.
Did I spell it right? Towards the law. And then we have what? And then we can predetermine our actions, which all of that equals to predetermining our actions. Yeah. And that's the formula that's the basic formula for all mystic practices, really. Okay? So I mean, you got to understand that the law that governs our lives, the law that governs our lives is the law of karma. Is the law of karma. Okay, so laws of karma. So you never get away with anything. You never get away with anything. So when you go to do any practice, you have to realize the laws that govern those things, and that's why when I teach you, I talk to you mainly about the nature and the laws that govern mind, right? Right? Because you always hear me talk about mind, right? And then I talk about the shati power, right? Or prana that that's shaped by mind, right? And you will hear me talk about those four principles of Shati, which is prana, right? Knowledge. Is it knowledge, right? We want to say knowledge or wisdom. Say wisdom, love, right? And Shati mind. Because these two are one. You cannot have one without the other. Right? And this mind that we're talking about is a universal mind. Does everybody understand that when I say that? What's unique about our subconscious mind? What does our subconscious mind do for us? Operates a bodily function. But what does it do? What's the main thing that the subconscious mind does? It obeys the law. The subconscious mind is brought about by the superconscious mind to do what? To always do what? Obey, right? The what? Oh shoot, I forgot. Obey the law of karma. The subconscious mind would never go outside of that law. Never. And what it does, it imposes that law on you. If you sit up and tell yourself, when you got a cold, and you tell yourself, well, I don't have a cold, I don't have a cold, I don't have a cold. You know what the subconscious mind gonna do? It's gonna increase the cold on you, right? Because why? It's gonna teach you to accept where you are and what you have. So the subconscious mind, it bring about awareness. It sinks that into you more until you realize that experience, so you can move on. You know, and in life, when you ignore things, it does what? It gets worse, right? It gets worse. So it follows the laws. The universal mind of the galaxy does that same thing. It keeps the law in order. Everything works according to law. That universal mind will always work according to law. And it brings we can understand it. It brings the power of the pranas, the shatis, the mahabhutas. It brings all of them under the law, right? Which is the cosmic elements. It brings all of them under law. The tavas, it brings all of them under the law. So everything responds to the law of karma. Everything. And it responds to the law of karma under that universal mind. Because remember, mind shapes what? It shapes energy. See, so that's why you always see me go back. If you learn these things, you'll learn how to manipulate the energies and the things around you to your advantage. So remember that the law of karma is the will of God. It is God. It's God manifested. So when you leave things in the hand of God, you leave it in the hands of the law of karma. You know. So the Bible said God works through man, right? Well, that's true, but God works through everything. And on our realm of existence, man is the greatest expressor of that, because you can constantly see in our time frame, we can constantly see how God interacts through man, you know. So that's what it means. In other words, every action of man is an action of God manifesting itself. And it may look negative, it may look indifferent, or it may look positive, but it's happening. And it cannot happen outside of the law of God. So how terrible it may look, it leads to something. You know, it's one piece in the puzzle that's leading to a greater thing. So that's something that we have to understand about the law in order to manipulate, whether it's prayer, or whether it's a visualization, or whether it's sanyama, or pranayama, or healing, or spiritual healing. You need the law. You need to have some understanding of the law and some belief in the law of how it works in order to make it work effectively through you. Okay, yes?
Pause for 1 second.
All right. Okay. So is there any questions on this?
When we pray to God, like why would we pray to God if God is law?
Because that's the law. Because you can balance karma because why? Karma, if God is karma and karma is God, right? What is karma? The key word is what is this karma then? Because we can interact with this karma, we can see this karma on us. We know that action and reaction is opposite and equal, right? So then, but how does anything move and interacts? It needs what? Power, energy. So what does the prayer do? What do we do in prayer? We release what? We release energy. So if I have a person over here that's going through bad times and I release, I sacrifice some of my energy to that person, and this energy is highly positive and highly charged, what happens? Huh? It helps them. It helps them. So we're working within the laws of God, right? Because the only reason why they are going through hard times is because why? There's an imbalance of energy somewhere there. You understand? So what are you doing? You're giving them energy to help balance their situation. And you have the knowledge, the belief, and the faith based on Nanny, that when you release that energy to them, the laws of karma will what? Will prevail to do what? To bring about the necessary balance that person needs. So when you pray to God, you praying to God to allow you to help in that person's journey or in those persons' journey by giving them that necessary energy that they have, somehow brought about an imbalance for themselves in their journey. Okay? Yeah.
When you send someone energy to heal them or to help them, are you in a way hindering them from learning their lessons?
No, because if the energy wasn't meant for them, the law wouldn't allow it to happen. You know, it's like when Dr. George King went into a projected state, and he was in the 9 freedoms. It's in the glory of a century, and he was on the satellite number 3, I think it was, and he was there, and the cosmic master that was there zeroed down onto the street and seen this drunken man. Everybody remember the story? The drunken man walking on the street. And he did an example where he released this energy to this particular drunken man. The man's aura was not receptive to that energy because of the drunken stupor that he was in. You know. So, well, the law of karma did not allow that highly potent energy to be given to him, because that energy does what? You have to do what with that? The energy doing the spiritual pushes is used for what? It's used for those people who are what?
Spiritual work, doing good work.
Unselfish. You know, they release, in other words, when we come together to release this energy throughout the world, we have to release it in an unselfish way. And then the energy, we can receive the energy. So in other words, we'll calibrate ourselves to receive that power by doing what? What we talked about last week. We align ourselves, we ground ourselves to what? The mentality of the Mother Earth, which is an unselfish mentality. So we have to ground ourselves to a great cosmic being like the Mother Earth, and then the energy can flow through us out to the rest of the world. But at that moment, this guy was caught up in his own mental psychosis, which repelled any type of real good energy, right? Now, when he come out of that stupor and try to do right, then maybe he can ground himself to a point where he can take that energy in and release it back out to the world. Okay, so there's a law that it follows. There's a law. There's a law of karma. There's a law of God. All right. Any other questions?
I know you've answered before, but I've been asked it a couple of times as well. Karma as it relates to predestination and predetermination.
Mm-hmm.
Like your life is decided for you, so therefore you just go with the karmic flow, or this is the life I may have made for myself, but I have the power to change it.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, the power to change it is still within the law, so that was already preordained.
Mm-hmm.
Is that kind of right, kind of wrong?
Well, the law, I mean, your personal karmic signature changes every minute. You know, so when you start off in life, you may have 1 million roads that you can travel according to your karmic pattern. You know, and you predetermine which road you're going to go to. You know, so every minute you could take an opportunity, every second you can change your life. And like I said, your life changes according to the mentality that you develop. You know, because it's that mentality that feeds your actions, right? Which is the karmic roadways that you travel in order to gain your lesson. So that's why Jnana Yoga is so important, and Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga walks down the same road, because it determines the lessons in life that you have to gain. So no one's life is totally predetermined and they can't alter it. That's insane. You know. Now someone can say, well, karmically you have to travel this road for the next 10 years, and you can't get out of it. But then there again, that's up to you, because that person's insight might be just their insight, their interpretation of what they've seen psychically, but you can change that by stepping up your game. Because karma is a moving thing. The law is set, but there's so many pathways. There's so many variables that you can go down. So don't get caught up. A lot of people that go on this thing about karma, it's nothing you can do. That's it, and it's over. That's not so. It doesn't make sense. Because if you try to do it, when you start adding up, it just doesn't make sense. If every action you make goes to your law, it creates an energy that propels you. So if you alter your life and begin to sacrifice everything you got towards a particular thing, then you creating energy towards reaching that goal. And there's nothing that's going to stop you from reaching that goal. And that's the law of karma. That's the power of God. So that's what you have to understand. God is real, because your power, that's the power that you use to reach any goal, is the power of God. It's the power of God. All right. So that's what most mystics misunderstand that. And the best way to channel this energy is, the best circumstances to channel the energy, the subtle energy, is through becoming selfless, becoming unselfish, in your approach to things. That's the best way to challenge this energy. all right, because the energy is preserved through the power of love. And the power of love, like I told you last week, does what? It preserves, right? What else it does?
I mean, it's characteristics, like what
Yeah.
it multiplies itself.
What did we go over last week? What was the significant thing we went over last week?
It carries.
No one remembers? Huh? I just mentioned it.
It's selfless.
Huh?
It's selfless. It carries, sustains.
Yes, but it does what? It grounds you, right? By having a selfless, right? A selfless frame of mind. It does what? It grounds you. We can say because it grounds us to what? The Mother Earth. Right? The Mother Earth. Because the Mother Earth is what? It's selfless. Right? The Mother Earth is selfless in what? In mind and body. So because of that, it allows a free flow, right? All of this equals to a free flow of energy. And you'll notice that when, if you go to a house, when a house being built, you'll notice that the first thing they do when they lay the foundation, they take a iron rod and they pound it down into the ground, 8 foot down, and then they take a copper wire and they attach that to the footer, the steel footer within the house. And that becomes the ground wire for the house. And when that happened, when they bring the meter box up and an electric panel, right? What happens is that it allows the energy to flow undisturbed within that house. It creates a framework or atmosphere to a conduit to allow that energy to flow. If that energy is not grounded, that house becomes electrified. It's not stable. So with the power of love energy, which is a preserving energy, which is an energy that preserves, right? We're told, right? And it sustains, right? But this is how it does it, okay? It does it in a selfless state of mind, all right? So you can channel this energy and sustain this energy in its flight through a ground, by you grounding yourself in your actions when you become selfless. And that's why we can see that satellite number 3 doing the spiritual push, what does it do? It says that your power will be increased 3,000 times when you're doing what? A selfless service. All right, because why? You're grounded in the Mother Earth. You're grounded with the power of love. The power of love allows you to be grounded, and now you become an instrument for that subtle energy. All right, it's knowing the laws that allow you to allow this energy to flow through you. And you'll notice that when you do, you'll feel this vibrant energy come through you. And you'll know that you're being used as an instrument, to push this energy through. So that's why you learn the laws of these energies. All right?
And there is the way of getting a selfless stream of mind is through Udana yoga, right?
Through Jnana Yoga, yes. Through Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. Jnana Yoga, Kama Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. And those are the three yogas that most of the great masters advocate, because they know that those is Jnana, Kama, and Bhakti is the things that ground us, that give us this spiritual perspective. And really you can't have Jnana without Kama. You can't have Kama without Jnana. You can't have Bhakti without Jnana and Kama. They all intertwined. You just can't study Kama Yoga without going into Jnana Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. And you can't study the others without going. And then those three yogas lead you into all the other yogas. Okay? So let me see. So when you go back to some of these diagrams I gave you, go back to it with that thought in mind. When we talk about the energy flow, understanding how the energy flow goes, I'm going to put it here so you all can see what I'm talking about. Then we can go ahead and close out. I say after this we can go ahead and close out. I just want to show you. Turn this light off right here so we can. So when we go when we start talking about the energies, when we start talking about these energies, then you can begin to understand how they work. This doesn't become so confusing when you study the nature of the energies. And here in the middle, I show you the mind, the Mahabhutas, the prana, the 5 major pranas, the tavic matter used by the soul and the consciousness. You'll begin to understand this because all of this is directed by mind, and mind is introduced to the universe and to us by the Absolute, by Shiva. And Shiva produced Shakti, and Shakti produced the four principles of Shakti, which has the universal mind, and the prana, and the nani, the wisdom, the signature, the karmic signature of all creation within that. Because that's what the nani is. The nani is that karmic signature that enforces the laws of karma. That's why nani and karma are one and the same. Okay? And then you can begin to see the Mahabhutas, how the Mahabhutas come in play, because they're driven by what? They're driven by the four principles of Shakti, which is Nani, the karmic signatures, because all the four principles of Shakti is the karmic signature. It's the framework in which the law of karma works through Nani, right? It's through Nani. Then you have the power, and you have the preservation of it, right? Right, and you have the mentality of it. You have Nani, you have the universal mind, you have the power, and then you have the preserving power, which is the love energy, and those are the four principles of Shakti, which creates that framework that all things must operate in. And then you have the Mahabhutas, which breaks it up into the cosmic elements that moves from etheric to solids. So it all follows a law. It all follows a law. And the whole tava, the tavas or the tavic rays, is nothing but the motion in which the Mahabhutas and the pranas take in its flight, in other words. So it's that vibrational motion. That's why in the ancient teachings it's called the modes of motion. That's what the tavic rays are. In other words, the scientists call it the electronic configuration. It's the figure in which the energy travels that creates creates the appearance of the ether, the air, the light, the water, and the solids. Okay, because we know that it's the arrangement, is the atomic arrangement, and that produced the molecule arrangement, and then the molecule arrangement produced the cell arrangement, and the cell produced the tissue, and the tissue creates the systems, and the systems is human or animal or whatever. So that's all that the tavic rays are. It dictates how things going to look and how it's going to operate, and what level it's going to operate on. Okay.
So it's the same topics across all the topics.
Hmm.
It's the same topic raised across all the realm and all the level of existence. And what differentiates?
The mode of motion, the motion that it takes.
Like a solid here is a solid on any realm because of the same topics, but what?
Yeah, but it's the frequency, because if something if something moves, because motion is a vibrational motion. Something can vibrate where it's solid, or something can vibrate where it's liquid. Something can vibrate where it's airy. You understand? It's the speed. It's the speed and the vibrational frequency that it manifests on that brings about the equilibrium or the stabilization of it. You understand? So if I had water, we know that the vibrational level, in order to bring water to a freezing level, have to be below what? 30 something, right? And then it begins to freeze. Now, if I want to bring it to a steam, I increase the temperature, which is the vibrational rate, above 100 something. And then and that water becomes vapor. So that's what is. So you have the solar logos and the galactic logos producing these modes of motion, and you have the laws of karma, the laws of creation, producing this vibration that determines the different levels, and that's what the tavas are. You could do, according to some teachings, the tavas start at 11, it goes to 22, 24, 33. The different tavics that they name. and then it goes all the way to 360 when it get to a particular solar system. That's a whole nother class. Is, you know, some of it I believe and some of it I question. But the ancient teachings that where we were given here in this particular solar system, I can attest to that because I can see it in operation. You know, when you're going out to the galaxies, whatever, that's questionable. You know. So this is study. So go back and study this on the thing that I was telling you today, and understand that it's a framework of God, a framework of karma, and it works. Okay. Any other questions? I think if not, we can go ahead and close out. Huh? Okay, so we can go ahead and close out.